Welcome to Learning by Short, your bites of information you get to apply immediately. We're looking at our Drive sales culture down to the final wrap-up section where we're looking at how do you sustain your sales, how do you sustain all the work you've done. We want to look at how do we keep repeat clients coming in. And one of the best ways of doing it, in fact, one of my personal favorite ways, is to ask for referrals. Once, many years ago, I had to do telemarketing, and back then I really didn't like the phone. I was like, oh, I don't want to call people, and I had all the fear of rejection and fear of disapproval and all those other things people fear when they initially have to pick up the phone and do cold calling. And eventually, I had set myself a task to call 20 people in 2 hours. I asked my boss to say, check in on me in 2 hours time. I will have made these phone calls. And I really struggled with the first couple of calls. And on the third call, I got somebody who was really interested. They were really keen, but the date just didn't suit them. And because we'd had such a good rapport and such a good conversation, I happened to say to them, by the way, do you know anybody else who might be interested in what we're offering? And he was like, oh yes, you should contact so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So I phoned those 3 people and I said, oh, I've just spoken to, and they recommended that I should speak to you because you might be interested. And at the end of that phone conversation, whether they said yes or they said no, I made a point of asking, oh, do you know anybody else who might be interested? And for me, it was a stumbling upon an epiphany moment, whatever you want to call it, but it totally changed my relationship with the telephone. And I learned the power of referrals. When we can be referred to somebody, we leverage off somebody else's relationship. We leverage off somebody else's trust base. And so if you've never done this before, go to your best clients, go to people you've done some good work with and ask them, who do you know who might be able to benefit from what we offer or who might need the services that we have? Now, when you ask, please don't just drop it into conversation like, oh, and if you happen to know anybody that's interested, just let them know about us. Actually pause and deliberately ask the question, do you know anybody else who would be interested in what we offer? Then pause. It's a question. Let them think about it. Let them come back to you and go, oh, you should speak to so-and-so. Or not at the moment, but I'll come back to you. You see, when we ask a direct question and they have time to think about it and give us an answer, we're then able to pick that up. And warm referrals, as many of you will know, are a lot easier to progress with than cold calling. So it's a great way to sustain our business. If you've never done it before, I strongly recommend you weave that into your process. Here's to your success. If any of this resonated with you and you'd like some help with it, do feel free to get in touch. Drop me an email at mike@thinkrite.co.nz or 0272 987 523 or our website www.thinkrite.co.nz.